Welcome to Living Truth. I'm Angela James. Together with John Usher, we invite you to dialogues designed to awaken you to truth, enlighten you to who you are, and to invite you to live a reality that you want. Good afternoon, everyone. John and I have already started behind the scenes, so today should prove to be a really good session with you guys. But yeah, today we are following on from last week's session on vision, drilling down a little bit deeper, connecting again to John's book, The Value of Vision. So, hi, John.
Hi, Angela. How are you?
Fine, and you? Freezing, actually.
How's vision treating you?
Vision's treating me just fine. I just wish if the sun would come out. But yeah, we're into winter already. But anyway, yeah. So we are going to pick up where we left off last week on vision and talking a little bit more about some of the stuff that you've got in the book and some of the insights that have occurred for the two of us over the last couple of days as we work with the energy of vision. So last week you introduced a topic that you have in the book called pitfalls, or things that can go wrong around vision. So maybe that's a good place to start today.
Antivision.
Antivision.
No, things that are anti-vision. So we get caught up in stuff we think is vision and it's not vision, So from pseudo identities to mission and tasks and activities we think are taking us closer to our vision, but in actual fact are not. Just a monumental royal waste of time.
So pseudo-vision comes up as well, John, huh? We get
pseudo-vision.
Before we start crying, we get a pseudo-vision. Quite like the pseudo thing that we're coming up with. And just by the way, if you have joined us today, grab a cup of tea because we both got our mugs. Cheers, John.
Salmon, not orange.
Okay, so now we're going to cry.
Angela.
Yeah. So we're gonna cry now. You were talking about crying around what vision's not.
So yeah, I mean, a lot of people are off on a tangent in terms of what vision is and what it's not, and sometimes it's not even about they might be pointed in the right direction, but then what they then, in terms of the way they structure the support of their vision, it just does not contribute to the growth and development of their vision. So one of the things, for example, and I call it Anticlarity. Oh, why is it when I have a session that they suddenly phone me, and then they don't phone me the rest of the time, but when I have a live session, then they start phoning.
It's called Murphy, and Murphy's just saying, hello, I'm still around. Murphy's Law.
Yeah, it just teach me to put it on silent, Okay, learning the lesson. So the first one I call Anticlarity, and that is people launch out into their vision and they start charging off in a direction without actually having clarity. And it is such a disservice to their own vision, such a monumental waste of time and resources. And they always say, this is my favorite line. And I'm saying this, and I'm saying it so, blasé-ish, abrupt-ish, because I'm also guilty. These are behaviors I express, and I've learned lessons from it, and try and do it differently now. And that's they charge off and they say, I'll wing it. I'll wing success as I go. The short of that is no, you won't. And my anecdote for that is, you put somebody in a forest they don't know. They're going to walk in a large circle, and after a couple of hours, they're going to land up in the same place as they started. And I have said this anecdote to you before, and you said it's not the same place; it's further back, because the world is this ever-evolving, power-evolving universe. We live in this ever-evolving universe, and so the same place is actually now behind. So, don't wing it. Don't wing it. Get clarity.
I think, it's a minefield, in the sense that, and I'll come back to getting the clarity now, because if I think about the vision that I had, that I was gifted with in 2002 in that hotel room in Beverly Hills, it was very clear. It was crystal clear. None of the how was clear, but the vision was actually really clear.
Yeah.
And the the other thing that comes into the mix before we even get clear on how we're going to unpack what that vision is and how we're going to get there is around the emotional connection that we have to the vision. I mean, after all, it was gifted to me. It was mine. I was entrusted with it. So the emotional attachment to it was incredible. And that's, I think, one of the other, certainly in my own experience, one of the major pitfalls of when we get too hung up on the glamour. We've spoken a bit about glamour before, haven't we? And when we get too hung up on the glamour of vision.
Yeah. We talk about the rightness of our vision. Well, that rightness of me is the smugness of me, and it's in that smugness that we miss the mark. So we're aiming at something that's not true. And it's not to say, for example, in your example, it's not to say that your vision is not your vision. It is your vision. But I think we add so many attachments to it. We add the emotions and the drama and the expectations. So the vision might be a very spiritual and very pure thing. But in our own ego state, we want to sing, rah, rah, rocket G, I'm the boss of this vision. And I will do it just the way I want to. And then we, like you say, we get the how or the what. We don't invest time in finding out from our maker in terms of the how. And that's really, it's just a disservice, to your beneficiaries, to your vision, to your maker, to yourself. And a lot of people, what I don't understand is we don't have the time to plan it initially, but we've always got time to muck around, waste time, and then start over. So why don't we just get it back from them?
So I guess for me, if I think back on this as well, on this journey, because vision, and as I think we explained last week, the concept of vision is about that future state of where we are heading towards and what we are focusing on. And not only is it fraught with a whole lot of emotional connection and attachment and passion and desire and glamour and expectation, and expectation is a double-edged sword, because when we get stuck in the ego aspects of expectation, that's when things go pear-shaped. But to have an expectation that one will be working towards the attainment of a vision is not the same as attaching expectation to a vision. It's very subtle in its nuance, but it's really very powerful.
For me, it's the difference between manifestation versus materialization. So when we plant a seed, we've got to, and I am the impatient, so I had a veggie patch, and one of the first things that I planted was Swiss chard. I was never a fan of spinach. As a kid, I used to bury it under the dining room carpet until it started eating my mother, bless her soul.
I used to bury my peas underneath my gem squash half. Didn't get me very far, because all they did was lift it up and go, oh, you're going to get that for breakfast.
And everybody says, why didn't you just let the dog eat it? And I was like, I did. I fed it to the dog, but the dog wouldn't eat it. So I had to bury it somewhere. So anyway, I planted the Swiss chard, and I had a huge bed full of the Swiss chard seed. And I was so excited, and I knew I had to leave it alone. And diligently, I watered it the first week. And then the second week, I had all these little, budding weeds come out the ground. And they just, they slip through the soil. They don't make the grand entrance that the actual vegetables.
They're gnarly. No, they're gnarly.
So I spent time plucking them out. And then second week, then I couldn't contain it anymore. And I knew more or less where I'd planted them. So I started scratching open, just to see. And oh my gosh, they were on their way. Yay! But the damage, the potential damage that I could have created. And this is what happens with people: is we go out there and we force the steps, we force the growth. We pump it full of steroids, and we do a hop, skip, and a jump instead of allowing the natural progression to take place. Because as much as that plant is growing above the surface, it's growing below the surface in order to create the support. It needs to be underpinned with the right principles, with the right beliefs.
Values and beliefs.
Yeah. And we don't. We want to just, we want it producing so that we can live the life. And this is the thing, is we get so caught up in the materialization of it,
Yep.
the
Yep.
materialistic aspect of the rewards of vision. And I'm not saying you're not allowed the rewards of vision. Hear me nicely. I want you to have the nice house, the nice car, and all that kind of thing. But really, can the tree first grow before you start selling the farm for a profit? Come on, come on. We just allow it some dignity and opportunity to grow into its fullness before we start, milking it dry. And it will, if we allow. And everybody says, okay, but how do you do it? Surely you got to work on the vision. Absolutely. You work on the environment of the vision. And this is the difference between the manifestation and the materialization. Is in terms of materialization, people are pumping the plant full of steroids. We're jabbing the plants like the cattle farmers. We give the poor cattle the growth hormone so that they can get ready quicker. So we mess with the natural progression of things. Where in terms of materialization in terms of manifestation, our job is to make sure the environment is conducive for our vision to grow in a natural progression. And we've got to make sure the environment is right.
Yeah. And then there's another component to this around the environment. That's who we are. Because I know for sure, absolutely, I know for sure that when I look back on what the vision was when it was gifted to me in 2002, and I look at who that person was then, and I look at where I am and who I am now, I'm still not in a position, quite frankly, to deliver on the scope and the size of that vision yet. But the end is that through the years, I've also had to progress and learn and let go of and shed and kind of allow for the opening up of the seed that is me. Because in as much as we're talking about an entity being a vision outside of ourselves, there's an internal vision as well in terms of who we are.
Yes.
And that's where, for me, it links to the drama triangle and the enablement dynamic. It also links to Joseph Campbell's stuff on the hero's journey and what we have to traverse within ourselves in order to be able to be the keeper of the vision. And you and I were laughing again this morning about how we teach most of what we need to learn ourselves. That's just the paradox of the kind of work that we do.
Yeah.
And it's also then referring to the who we are, not only the what and the why of where we're heading, but
Absolutely.
also
Now, for me, the who has been probably, when we get that vision initially, we have that expectation and we get emotionally tangled in it.
Yeah.
And there is a projection of the who that we're going to become. And we think that who sounds like a movie, the who we're going to become. We think we are that. You think we are that who now, what Walton heard of who, what somebody heard of who, I can't remember. Anyway. We think we are that who now. And there is a natural progression. There is myself is I attached a certain identity to my vision, and I was forcing it into a context that it didn't fit. It can, and it's not, it will work, but in terms of stepping back and looking at the real scope of it, what is that? What is that? It's our success that we're most afraid of. That verse by
from Marianne Williamson's poem. It's not the fear of failure. It's the fear of it's not the fear of success.
It's not the fear of failure. It's the fear of success.
Absolutely.
And the fact that it is going to be monumentally, huge. And I was shoving it into a context because that was my frame of reference. That was my frame of reference for success. And now that I've pulled the lid off it, and like you, I've come a long way with my vision, and I can say as early as the weekend, I pulled the lid off it, and it was like this, jumping spring that just bounced out of there, and it went back to its original shape. And I can sit and look at it and admire it for what it is and say, okay, it's not you conforming to my identity. It's my identity conforming to what the vision is
very powerful.
Asking me to do.
I relate so much to that because I think I went through a similar process a few months ago, where, I mean, the attachment as long ago back as January last year, chucking away 20 years worth of research that I
Yeah.
was attached to
Ouch.
around a vision that I mean, none of that's wasted because that learning is still embedded within me. But the
It's
how
made
I
you.
thought this vision, yeah, absolutely. And the how that I thought that vision was going to happen absolutely is not. And so there are things like the values of trust, the values of faith, the allowance and the allowing, these gifts that we get from spirit that take us into a different space. And I know you talk about values and principles, I talk about gifts, pretty kind of two sides to the same coin, different
Same coin.
energies, but same coin. And as we come into connecting again with vision, I had to let it all go, everything, absolutely everything. Not only what the vision was, but who I was. And that's the messy that I refer to when we're going through the transformation in the chrysalis, where the caterpillar becomes all mushy before it becomes the butterfly. And um, and it can be pretty painful because of the attachment. The
Yeah.
Buddhists talk about anything that we are attached to causes suffering. Well, when we're attached to what we think has been
Yeah.
embedded in us from the world of spirit, and particularly when you have a spiritual connection, and it's this big,
Yeah.
grand. Everybody talks about we can all change the world. Well, we may do. I don't know, but whether we will do. It's enough for me today to be able to change the piece of the world that I've been asked to serve, as opposed
Yeah.
to that world. Um,
Yeah.
and so for me, this whole cleaving away from, because you mentioned something that was quite important, the cleaving away from the conditioned thinking of what we think vision is based on corporatees,
Yes.
based on the checklist, based on
Yes.
we've done our governance, let's tick off all of the pieces and go, yay,
Yes.
Mr. Board members, we've done our number. That's
Yes.
not what it's actually about at all. That's more of a
No.
blueprint planning, but it's not what you and I come to know that vision actually is. And for me, vision has become very much more of what my higher power, who I choose to call God, would have me do and be in order to be able to be of service to others. And it's a very different connotation than the one that we stick
Yeah.
up on the wall and we tick off all the ticks.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it is about that be of service. There is a in all vision there is an element of service that people miss. I've seen so many vision boards. I see the rewards of vision, and I look and I say, okay, well that's great. I see all the presents that you get, all the joy you get from
And the
achieving your vision,
targets, you know,
and the
and the
targets.
targets and the numbers and the
I get
goals.
and a lot of people think that's vision, and I would often say, well, if that is vision, then everybody's got the same vision. Everybody wants a nice house, nice car, the lifestyle that goes with that. That's not the
That's
vision.
not
The
vision at
vision
all.
is, what are you doing to serve? Those
Yeah,
are the rewards.
absolutely.
Happy for your rewards. What are you
If I
doing to
think,
serve?
yeah,
Where's the balance in your vision board?
if I think back to that bedroom in the Beverly Hills Hotel in June, I think it was 2002. Funny numbers again, the 2002s. If I think back to that particular event of that particular day, there definitely was a spiritual vision that was handed down to me.
Yeah,
And it was, and I know you've had a similar experience as well. And for me, it was around, yeah, there was an absolute, and it links back to purpose, it links back to identity, it links
yeah,
back to us shedding our pseudo identities because they're all framed
yes,
around what business schools talk about as vision, as opposed to what vision for me truly has come to me.
yes,
Um, and it really is around shifting into a very different energy and a different identity without all these trappings of these hoopla titles and whatever else we attached to that. And it absolutely does come down to, very simply, the question is, how may I be of service? Before I
yeah,
hand back to you, one thing that came up for me at that time, and it's now becoming bandied about as one of these kind of flavor of the month terms. In fact, I saw an ad for something about it earlier on, just before we started the StreamYard. One of the things that came up for me then, even in 2002, one of the businesses was called Leaving a Legacy. And that had come through a whole lot of processes. It's now become kind of in for a dig fashionable, one of these fashion kind of comments about, let's
yeah,
all leave a legacy. Well,
Yeah.
the essence of that, there's nothing wrong with it.
No.
But the question more is what kind of legacy are you leaving? Because the legacy speaks more to vision than the other stuff that we speak about. If I have to get to the end of my life and turn around and have a look at the contribution, because contribution is a vision word, the contribution that I have made, what difference will I have made? How will I have contributed to the enrichment of other people's lives, not just my own?
I like that.
Because we get caught up in the glamour of it, self-enrichment, as opposed to leaving our world a little bit better for us having a part. And I'm going to hand it back to you now because I'm talking too much.
And I think you're right in that. I think there is, though, a certain level of, for yourself, a level of well-being before, so Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You've got to look after your basic needs in order to get into that self-actualization.
Yep.
So in the vision model that I have, I talk about do what you can with what you have where you are right now. And you'll have a vision around it. So I've got a vision for where I am right now. That's not my ultimate life vision. You know what I mean?
Absolutely not.
It is a vision that serves, and it is a vision that is going to take care of my basic needs. And when that has come to a fulfillment, I'm going to be able to stand in a position and say, hold on, let's take this vision now to another level.
Another level.
And that next level is going to talk to freedom. Sorry, it's going to talk to meaning. Then I'm going to create meaning for not only for myself, but the service that I offer to others, I'm going to create meaning for them.
Yep.
And then, the next layer will be freedom. And then, I'm not super spiritual, so I'm not beyond the 3 yet. I'm still working on it. And I use Bill Gates as my example.
That's why you have me. Just by the way,
Exactly.
That's why you have me.
Exactly. So you can just show me what's next. It's coming. I like it. And I use Bill Gates as when he was designing his MS-DOS, operating system, he did not have world domination in mind. What he's doing now in terms, him and his wife are doing now in terms of humanistic or humanitarian work, was not his concern then. Then it was just literally about getting to the place where he could make enough money the end of the month must meet the end of the money, and he did it in a way by providing a service for others. That service made sure that he was financially stable. First layer is well-being. Yep. So don't come out with this grand vision, that's cost the sacrifice of you and who you are and all the rest of it. Your vision will at first look after your well-being, but that well-being will still manifest in the service of others. When you attain that, you will stand on that platform and you will have a perspective of the next level. I talk about the guys.
Cups? Yeah. Do you remember those cups that we used to pull up? They used to flatten into a thing like this, and then you used to pick them up, and they used to pull out. And that's the kind of image, as you're talking, is that it's layered in. And just because we simplify a component of the vision into a smaller bite-sized piece doesn't mean to say that we've relinquished what we have come to know our vision to be at all.
No.
It just means that we are, and this is where you talk about chunking it down and making it into bite-sized pieces and having a plan around each of the bite-sized pieces in order to make sure that we're getting to the point of being able to move towards that grander vision. And I think that's probably the biggest error that most people who are working, particularly on a personal vision that is attached to a calling, where they make the mistake because they fetch it. It comes out from the world of spirits. Here it is. It comes in. And I know for me, it kind of got stuck around this part of my body and didn't root itself down into the ground. So very good at fetching stuff, but it doesn't mean to say that necessarily you're good at grounding things. And this is the point that you're making, is that to ground a vision, we need to break it down into smaller pieces, focus on that small piece, and then incrementally build back up again to the grander part of the vision. Yeah.
Be faithful in the small, and the large will manifest.
And
if you can't break it down into the small.
Sorry, say that again. You can't break it down into small chunks.
If you can't break it into small chunks and allow that to become a habit in your life. When you talk to the super successful, they tell you it's the habits that you do, the small tasks that you do on a daily basis that forms the habit of success. So you want to break down your vision into small chunks, literally a daily repetition of tasks. What are you doing on a daily basis?
Yeah.
So I want 1 million people to read my book. Great. If I can't break it down into, I want 10 people a month or 10 a week to buy it and read it, how am I going to reach the million? Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's about breaking it down into the finer parts that enables me to develop a habit on a daily basis. That habit must take me to the achievement of that vision. So it's not just about habits, it's about having the right habit that takes you in the direction of achieving the vision. And a lot of
I think
people
yeah,
miss that as
yeah.
well. They've got habits, they don't
Some
fulfill the
of the
vision.
sorry, there's a bit of a lag on here today. That's why I feel like I'm interrupting you all the time. But there's another element to me, and that's the myth of the fact that the vision has to be hard work. Because for how many
Yeah.
years have you and I felt like we're pushing this freaking boulder up a hill only to get flattened
Yeah.
by time and time again, and that it's this uphill battle. And we've been socialized and conditioned to think that vision work or doing that kind of work again, because of a lot of what goes on within a corporate space. And I'm not knocking corporates; they have their place. Maybe I am. I don't know. That was supposed. Anybody from the corporate space that's watching this, hopefully you're gonna get something out of
Sorry.
it.
You're welcome.
But it's the thing, and maybe this is a message for people in the corporate world as well. Is that striving towards or moving and growing towards a vision shouldn't have to be hard work. We shouldn't have to be exhausted from the fact that we are being of service to others. And that brings a whole nother element of things that we're going to be talking about pretty soon, and that's being in flow, being aligned, and all of these
Yeah.
principles that now start to come to play.
Yeah.
And one of the myths is, and it's certainly for me, I'm learning more and more, the more I am stepping back and allowing and being in the space of allowing the manifestation to take place. I mean, there's some days that I feel like I'm goofing off and that I'm doing no work at all, but it's not that at all. The nature of the work that we do with visioning is very different to the toil of the
Yes.
mission stuff. So
Yes.
vision has got a lot to do with visualizing. It's got a lot to do, not just affirmations. Let me say my 10 affirmations for what I want to materialize. That's not what we're talking about. But there are different tasks that are involved in
Yeah.
different
Part of
beingnesses that are involved in being in vision. Yeah.
yeah, beingness. I love the beingness.
So do
Part of
I.
part of the vision that I have, one of the roles that I have is of a teaspoon. Eh? And when I present courses or start talks, I say, "Hi, my name's John, and I'm a teaspoon." And everybody's like, "What? A teaspoon?" And I say, "Yep." So I believe you are like the cup, and you've got all the ingredients for some delicious coffee. So you got your coffee in there, and you got your sugar in there, and you got your milk in there, and you pour the hot water. Do you drink it? No, you need it to be stirred a little bit. And everybody says, "Oh, so John, you like stirring." So yes, I like stirring the cup, not the pot. There is a difference. Anyway, moving along. So for me, part of writing, so I've got a book published, as you've said, and I've got a lot of unpublished books. And one of the reasons they're unpublished is because when I'm writing, I feel guilty because it's that sense of goofing off because I'm having fun. It's exciting. And I'll write for 5 or 6 hours a day. And, people are like, "Oh, I've got a target of writing 5,000 words. What's your I don't know. I just write until I
Relate.
realize I've written enough. And it might be a day later or 2 days or, forgotten to eat. Because the passion, the excitement is there for doing it. And it's so wonderful. And then I kind of feel guilty in doing that and say, "Oh, no, I mustn't do that, because achieving your vision is toil. You got to push that boulder up the hill."
And
And then
writing's
this
not
is
real work. And writing's
and
not
writing's
real
not
work.
real work. And this is too much fun to be real work. You know what I mean? So let me rather, and then I find something that's really difficult to do, and I pursue that, knock my head off the wall, pull my hair out, go
Bloody and
crazy.
battered, hey? Got
Yeah.
the scars to
Whoa.
show.
Yeah, exactly. I'm working on my vision. Can you see the wrinkles? Can you see the wrinkles? I'm working on my vision. No.
I got more than you.
Oh, the wrinkles should be from smiling because you're like, woo, having fun. Come on.
Yep.
Those
So we got it all wrong.
wrinkles
We
are
got it
my
all
ones.
wrong. We
And
make
it
work
should
too
be, because
hard.
then when you are doing that,
Yeah,
you got it wrong. And it's when we
yeah, we
have
got
that
it all
passion,
wrong.
and this is the key, because we want momentum. The life force of vision is momentum. And we think struggling and striving and, farting and sweating and all these things is what creates the momentum. It's not, it's the passion. Because then people buy into the passion. They're drawn to the passion, like moths to light. They're like, "Oh, come see what's going on here," because there's this glorious light and energy coming off you, and people want to tap into that. Okay, you do get those passion thieves. We're not talking about those people. We're talking about drawing the people of like-mindedness, coming in
Yep.
and getting involved, see the vision, get involved, and commit to making this thing grow. We're not going to do that if we're in the toil and the sweat and, oh, this vision is so hard. Oh, I'm having such a
Absolutely
tough
not.
time.
It's
That's
all
not
about
vision.
energy. All about energy. And then the other thing is, as you've already mentioned earlier on, it's that commitment to the daily action. So I want to use a very practical example. You mentioned earlier on about, and for me, the phrase is slightly different, but the same meaning is that we live and work within our means, but the means do not define me. So I'm sitting in the situation where you are as well at the same time, where we're starting over. We're not doing starting again. We're a start over again, or start over, with a new
Start up.
identity, with a whole lot of stuff that has shifted and changed over the last few months. And the means are not there yet to be able to hire people to do stuff. So one of the things that's been new for me, I know you've been doing it for a while, but new for me over the last couple of weeks is putting together my own website, or my landing page on my website, doing some video producing with you, teaching me. I'm still not anywhere near what you can do, and that's okay, because I'm not as far down the track in terms of the experience around using it. But the point is that I'm getting to is the fact that even though we don't have massive teams behind us, it's not stopping us every day from producing what we need to service our vision. And that's what you were talking about earlier on. So start where you are. And I think that's one of the tips that we want to give to people. Start exactly where you are. If you don't know what your vision is, then pick me, because I will take you through a journey. And then when you want to ground your vision, pick John, because John's better at doing that. I'm good at fetching stuff and helping you to fetch that and to start carving out what the identities are, or taking you on a journey that allows you to carve that out for yourself. Because you know what? You told me about your identities today. If you go and check that back to your basic capacities, they were sitting there all along.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And it's this kicking against it. I don't want to go down that path because it's so much fun. Okay.
Yep.
So then struggle.
Yep.
Anyway.
So part of this is to bring into being, and you're going to see John and I talking about this a lot more over the next couple of weeks, to bring into being what this vision is, in peace, with flow, with awe and wonder, and in grace. And that secret we're going to share with you in a week or so's time. But that's the way that it should be. Is that we should be living life in flow of who we are. And that for me is really where we start to dispel a lot of the myths around what people see vision being and what it is. Again, we could probably go on for another 5-10 minutes. We're already into 34 minutes of this podcast. But the one thing that I think maybe that we'd like to finish off with is something that we also spoke about earlier on today. And that was how we crunch it down into a small component. So you will have seen, if you've been on my Facebook page today, you will have seen that I've put out, and this is against another brilliant tool that John's come up with. See, I really love you. I really, really, really love you. Another brilliant tool that John has come up with in terms of activating. That's a nice word. Activating. We are doing activations anyway. Activating your vision, and that's through a 100-day challenge. And John's going to spend a lot more. We'll talk about 100-day challenges on another Living Truth podcast as well. But you will have seen on my particular Facebook page today that I've put up a meme, ad, whatever. It's not a Facebook ad, but a post around the fact that I'm working towards 100 psychic readings in 100 days. I'm not going to tell you how far I am or how many I've done, but using John's formula in terms of grounding vision into something tangible and realistic is something I've been working on for a couple of months now. John's going to be issuing one of his own. So again, stick with us if you want to hear more about 100-day challenges, and we'll talk about some of the experiences that we've both had with 100-day challenges that we've done, because that becomes a pragmatic way of moving with the flow rather than trying to push the boulder up the hill. So what we've seen as well is chunking down a component of, like that cup that I mentioned, the first ring of the cup into a bite-sized piece, and making sure that we're getting the repetitive success. And the learning along the route is unbelievable. In fact, we do need to flag that we're going to do a 100-day challenge on Living Truth soon, as soon as we're ready to.
I like that. That is going to be fun.
Well, we're going to do a 100-day Living Truth challenge as well. That'll be winning.
Yeah, come on,
I got it. Okay, well, we'll put that we'll put the planning of that into the works. And we'll let you know when we start off with the Living Truth 100-day challenge, and you can follow John and I. We will be on every day, Monday to Friday, for 100 days. So we're making that commitment today.
Okay.
We've put it out there. Just our start date. Please give us good after the wedding. After the wedding.
After the wedding. Whose wedding? You're getting married.
My daughter is getting married in May. So after the wedding, we'll look at a 100-day challenge, which should take us to spring almost, which will be amazing. Through the winter.
Cool.
Best time for seeds to start doing their resting and preparation work to
preparing the ground. Absolutely. You prepare the ground, June, July. Come on.
Yep, let's do
that. In August.
June, July, August. Okay, so that's us for this week. John, anything further?
Do what you can with what you have, where you are. Make it bite-size. Don't get caught up in materialization. Allow its chance to grow and develop. I had a mate this week. He phoned me over the weekend and he said he's invested nearly R1 million over the last 8 months into a new project. And he's going to leave it because he feels like it's not giving him a return. And I'm like, you're rushing. You're too hasty. 8 months is not enough time.
Not on R1 million. Nowhere near
it hasn't germinated yet. So chill, Jill. But So do what you can with what you have, and just be patient. Allow it. If it's not growing the way you want it, don't rip out the plant. Work on the environment. Make sure the soil is soft on and off.
And on a personal level, work on who you are in terms of who you are wanting to be in your truth to support and to steward that vision, and how you can be of service with the gifts and talents that you have to take out into the world. So that's us for this week. Hope you enjoyed the Living Truth episode today. And John and I stuck our necks out, so we will be looking at a 100-day challenge where we're going to do 100 episodes in 100 days. Probably not as long as this one, but God bless everybody, and thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Please share. Also remember to go to Amazon.com to find John's book, John Usher, The Value of Vision. Try that again. Available in both Kindle and also paperback. And I should be putting some stuff up pretty soon into Kindle as well. More stuff that you can use as tools. That's my commitment as well as part of my challenge. And watch out for us on Spotify, watch out for us on YouTube, and follow us on Facebook. And another commitment this month, John, is to get our website up and running. So love and light to all. God bless, and thanks for watching.
Peace.
Thank you for tuning into Living Truth. Our goal is to carry a message of purpose and meaning to those who are seeking to be, do, and have a full, joyous, happy, and abundant life. If you know of any dreamers, truth seekers, visionaries, light workers, and wisdom keepers who would benefit from our content, please feel free to share our material with them. We would appreciate your time in leaving us a 5-star review on this channel, and visit us on www.angelajames.co.za and John Asher on www.mindmattermatters.com.